On this episode of Blending Bourbon, Dixon and I blend some bourbon.
Blending Bourbon is the podcast that takes you beyond the barrel and behind the scenes of the whiskey industry with master blenders Dixon Dedman and David Mark Young.
Welcome back to another episode of Golden Chief's Blending Bourbon. Dixon Dedman, 2XO Whiskey, joined as always by the owner and master blender of Golden Chief, Mr. Ryan C. David Mark Young. Sorry about that. Hey, yeah,
that's okay. I can see how you would confuse us.
I thought it was. I was thinking about New Year's. Happy New Year.
Happy
First
New Year.
show in 2024.
Yeah, very exciting. How was your New Year, your holiday season?
Fantastic. I got off I think I got home on the 19th of December, and I don't leave again until next week. So I have 4.5 weeks of sleeping in my own house. I won't say sleeping in my own bed, but sleeping in my own house. And I put my suitcase away and my toothbrush in my little toothbrush holder, not in my travel kit. And so I mean, I've had a blast. My wife and children are really ready for me to be gone again, but
it's already that time.
Yeah, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. How you have a good? We have to call it the season, right? Do you have a good holiday season?
Holiday, yeah, it was great. Worked, played, all things. Yeah, we didn't travel. We didn't go anywhere. It was actually, it was kind of nice. Things slowed down a little bit, and just need a little bit of distraction every once in a while. Family things and holiday things, work things, but it was good. I think I'm ready to get back at it. I'm hitting the road myself this week, so looking forward to that.
Yeah, you don't have to deal with this, but one of the things and I love it. I love being home, and I love, but this time of year, like when it gets cold like this, and I've got younger kids, and it's just a perpetual, somebody's throwing up, somebody's got a runny nose, somebody's got a cough, somebody's got a fever, somebody's got, something. It's just nonstop. And it's just, I know we were just talking about your looking at it, snow and the cold and all that stuff. And I just like this, I'm starting being here. Like I'm starting to get that cabin fever a little bit, like how I just walk around my house in the morning and pick up like wadded up Kleenexes and, with a Clorox wiping down. It's like, how do we, these germs,
right.
this is, I'm ready for spring already.
Yeah, for sure.
That was just a parenting rant that I had.
Yeah, I remember those days. Little kids and everybody. Somebody's always sick, and you can't avoid it. But cold here, super cold here. It's going to be in -20. That's what they're forecasting. Forecasting about a foot of snow. It's too much.
That for me. That is the fifth circle of hell.
It's over the top. It really is.
Below 20 and a foot of snow. That is. I mean, if you were really going to torture me, that would be it.
We should come to Snowmaha I'm
going to New York, so I don't know if that's going to be.
I don't know. I feel like right now there's this big winter Mageddon, Snowmageddon, something taking over the country right now.
Yeah, it has a name. I don't remember what it is. It's like Biff or something like that.
Yeah, Biff the Blizzard.
Yeah. So, all right, David, I know you, um, you like, one of the things that separates you and I a little bit is like you are a bourbon guy. You're a whiskey guy, like
I am.
100% all in. I've talked at length about, getting to the point, like sometimes I'm just like, finish up. Like, where's I'm a gin and tonic guy. We drink a lot of wine over the holidays, but I know you're different. You're a double neat all the time. What over the holidays, best pour you had?
Oh man, this is the worst question for me. Best, favorite, anything.
Three
I'll tell you.
best pours that you had. The three best pours that you had. You love to experiment. You love to try new stuff. You're always on the hunt. What were the three things that you had that you look back and say that was special?
One stands out. One, and I wish I had a bottle. One in particular stood out, and I'm on a hunt for that bottle. It's the Hemingway Rye. Not sure if you've had the opportunity to try that. It was roughly 90% Kentucky rye, a 95.5 Kentucky rye, 6-year-old, and 5%, or excuse me, 10% Indiana 95.5 rye, 4 years old. So, 4, 5, 6 years old, somewhere in there total. A blend, obviously, 102 proof. This is off the top of my head. So it clearly left an impact, made an impact on good stuff, really good stuff, really unique. Finished in, I always say this wrong, sherry casks, but Oloroso. Ambidextrous or the other one. But yeah, good stuff. Went back for more. It was gone. So now I'm on the hunt, on the prowl for it. I'll expect to come back.
Was that at a restaurant, or was that something that
was at Proof Whiskey Bar? Yeah, nice. Out west. They always, nothing else really stands out. There was another rye. It was a Kansas City rye, and I just can't remember the name of it. It was decent. We did quite a few tastings, quite a few Golden Sheaf tastings, but I always try new stuff. Sometimes though, just try, just having something that's, the place might not have a big selection. So, I had some Bookers. I forget which release that was, but always a Bookers fan. Yeah, nothing else really stands out as new wise that I tried. How about you?
Oh, I tell you, what I had that I hadn't had in forever. Not a bourbon, but my dad is my dad was always a Macallan 12 guy.
Oh yeah,
and Macallan 12 has seen a bit of a price increase.
Yeah.
So I did get my dad a bottle of Macallan 12, and it had been a while since I had done that, and we shared a few pours of that, and then that was very nice. And I had another. It was my friend. These two guys, and they run a kind of a bourbon group in the Baltimore area, and they've got two big package stores, Allview Liquors and Drug City Liquors, and I had some people in my office, and we finished off one of their Weller Full Proof pick from a couple years ago, and I think the combination of that being just a phenomenal bottle and that bottle having been open for, a year plus or whatever, it was just velvet.
Yeah. Yeah.
That other than a few old fashions, that may be the extent of the whiskey that I drank over well, I'm sure that's not true, but
that's not a bad thing. Drinking all the whiskey is not always the best thing. I've been in just sample mode lately. I haven't really had those, sit down and indulge much. It's just kind of been sips here and there. We've done a lot of tastings comparing finished whiskeys. So I cracked out that Boss Hog Whistle Pig that I brought down about a year ago.
Yeah.
That was pretty good. Still about a half bottle of that. But the Penelope, was it the Penelope? Is that Rio? The Ambarana honey barrel finish. Gosh, there's another one. Bardstown Bourbon Company. They've got the. This was one that we cracked. It had the French sweet white wine finish, Sauterne, finished bourbon. Yeah, delicious. Done a few blind tests, and so we're going to roll out some finished products here. I'll do some stuff when I'm down in Kentucky next week or this week.
Are you a New Year's resolution guy? Like if you...
Sometimes it's hit or miss. Why do you ask?
I only ask because, to me, I've decided years ago that New Year's resolutions were sometimes more of a set yourself up to fail than to succeed type thing. It's like, I'm going to start doing this. And then, it's like, well, so I was just curious, I decided several years ago that I was going to be more of I would reflect on 23 or the previous year, and then, reflect on 24 and how I would change the previous year or what I would do differently in the coming year, focus wise. And, it's been very interesting as we, and like last week for me, I don't ever stop. I don't ever turn anything off necessarily, but everybody came back on the second and was just like ready to go, a million questions, so that's what's been kind of fun. And I guess what I was getting to ask you about, we're trying to think about what we do with 2XO in 2024, how we approach this, how we, what not necessarily changes we make, but where we're going to put, our focus, our attention, and what it's like, okay, what was successful,
right.
where is there more opportunity and that type of thing. And because I was curious from a Golden Sheaf perspective, because I know part of what you're doing this week and whatever is kind of expanding the focus of Golden Sheaf, right? I mean,
yeah, for sure. Matter of fact, I wasn't really sure how to answer that question. I have a few personal goals, and it's just establishing consistency, health wise, good choices, food wise, and going to bed at decent time consistently. And then running, I got another marathon on the radar. So I'm going to get back into that, but business wise, yes, it's all about business, and all these things kind of, point to the business goals. It's kind of like, take better care of me so I can take better care of the business. And, so this podcast, for example, I mean, there's kind of some strategy planning as far as focus and that sort of thing. So there'll be some changes, that we'll roll out. We've talked about that over the coming months, just kind of format wise and focus. But as far as the business, it's kind of getting back to the basics and, doing what I started doing, which was just creating some really good whiskey and being creative. So I've got a number of things on the map short term. Last year was kind of experiment with this, experiment with that, scale. But we're still going to continue to do that, but it's kind of getting back to the core of what I want to do. I want to produce whiskey, and it's mostly in the form of these smaller batches, these, 200-300 bottle batches that are unique blends, a smattering of unique finishes, but rolling them out and then also into the new markets that we've introduced Golden Sheaf into, including Kentucky and, some of the online presence, so that we can, continue to grow, but we're still trying to maintain small footprint. Not, it's interesting. You have these conversations with people and everybody wants to help out. We've talked about this before. Everybody wants to help out. Hey, I've got a friend in Seattle, who has a neighbor who, their dad was a distributor for a long time, and I could probably introduce you and, get you into Washington State. And, it's not always about more states. It's about maximizing the territory that you're in and the market space that you're in. So, as much as I love that and appreciate it, the focus is getting really good whiskey that's going to put a focus on the brand into the existing market space. And, so yeah, we'll see a variety of things. Looking forward to rolling those out too on here, including a higher end package, some really aged blended whiskey, unique stuff, kind of in a higher end presentation, overall luxury brand packaging, small amounts, and then some of our usual. But I'm excited to do what we did here in our backyard in Nebraska, now in Kentucky, and be able to release some of that, because we saw a big impact. And it's always cool to have our standards on the shelf, our standard straight bourbon, straight rye, but then to complement that with one or two finished products, experiments, if you will, but on the shelf. So now we're going to start doing that in Kentucky. So that'll be fun to introduce that.
It's awesome. Well, I mean, we talked about this, and I kind of, made a mess of my side of it, but you did your homework, and and so what we're going to do over the next little bit is that David is going to take us through the blending exercise, and he's got multiple components that he has to work with. And what we got to taste these things, and then talk about what we're getting, how they might play, how they might work, and then put them together and see what you got, kind of thing.
Yeah,
but you're totally on the spot here. I mean, this is
and I got this. Yeah, I can't say I necessarily did my homework, but my homework is out here, splayed on always here in my workspace. So, just talking about. So this kind of stems from conversations, right? You do tastings, and you get such a wide variety of consumers, and there's always the consumers that they ask, where do you distill? And then, it's responded with a story of, I don't distill, I'm a blender. Oh, so you just buy Indiana bourbon and put it in a bottle and slap your label on it. And not every conversation is like that, but, you end up telling a story about blending. And, I find myself really proud of what I do, blending, and have sort of, the story gets better each time I tell it. And when I think of blending, I think this is really kind of the whole point of this exercise, is to kind of highlight what blending is in the bourbon world in particular, and the benefits of it. And I love single barrels. I love a good single barrel pick. I love the right age, barrel strength. You get what you get. It's sometimes it's amazing, and other times it's not. Sometimes producers will proof those down, customize the proof, to maximize the flavor with what they have, the variables that they have. So to me, blending is taking, adding additional variables to be able to maximize that. And, it's one thing to have a pick of a, single barrel rye. And that's what I have here. Is I've got some rye, this is high corn bourbon, and some wheat. And, when people ask why blend, why, well, I liken it to, and we've talked about this a number of times, but let's pull the thread a little bit further. A chef, a really good chef, they get creative. Not every chef just goes and buys a side of meat and serves it up on a dish. They take it back to their kitchen, and that's their basis. That's their foundation that they start out with, right? A cut of beef or a cut of pork or chicken or fish. And then they take their unique seasons and, their recipe, and they apply that. And that's what makes dining such a fun and, unique experience when you go to a new restaurant, right? And that's someone's creation. They're taking that foundational piece. And so similar to buying a MGP rye. Some producers take 95.5 MGP rye at cast strength. They put it in a bottle, and then they put a fancy label on it. And there's nothing wrong with that. What I do is a little bit different. I take that and some other stuff and some other stuff and some other stuff, potentially 5, 6, 7 other products, and blend them together and create something unique. And that's what I love. That's my joy. And not only am I taking multiple whiskeys and blending them together from multiple regions, at varied ages and proofs and mash bills potentially, that's just it. Then you can take that and proof it down to where that flavor profile is most predominant.
Okay, I love where this is going. So let's do this.
Let's do it.
What's the first one you're going to do? First pour. So here's what I want to do. I want you to put a little bit of that in a glass. What is this one?
This is an MGP rye. It's a 95.5.
95.5. So going into this, what are your expectations for this? Like, what do you expect this to? How do you expect this to feel, to taste? What are your expectations, knowing what it is? I don't know the age of it. I'm thinking 95.5 rye. One, it's going to be, the question is going to be, if it's younger, I'm expecting more of a cedar, pine, type thing. If it's older, you get more pepper spice. If it's got serious age on it, that spice is more of a baking spice. That kind of gets into cinnamon and nutmeg kind of thing. And then I'm always looking in MGP for that briny component. MGP rye, a lot of times carries a lot of that. To me, it's a pickle juice note. It's that briny kind of thing. Those would be my expectations. I don't know where you go with that when you're tasting them, but
very similar. So this is an 8-year. This is an 8-year, 95% rye, 5% malted barley out of Indiana. I go for a number of things. I have my little checklist. You know, I'm looking for mouthfeel. I'm looking for because it's 8 years old. I expect bursting with flavor, very viscous, very lingering. Up front and on the finish. This is 120 proof, 125 proof. So I expect it to be a little bit hot, and being a little bit older, I expect those baking spices to pop, or that peppery spice, I should say, to pop.
Yeah, I would expect more, and it's funny because I would not expect this to be anywhere near the front of the palate. I would expect this to just, jump across the middle and go race into the back with like that peppery, like black pepper heat on it. Like you would get it here almost.
Yeah. I sadly, or I don't know, good or bad, I don't get a lot of heat off of this.
Yeah.
Even which
no, that's what you have to do now. Now you have to tell us exactly what it is.
Yeah,
it tastes like.
So it smells hot. Smells hot. I think you said cinnamon. I get this cinnamon off the nose.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because you said it, but that was my initial aroma. But it smells super hot. And then I have almost this like fruity undertone, like a pear underneath that cinnamon.
Pear. Interesting. So it's
pear.
almost like a like apple pie kind of spice, kind of the cinnamon apple, or pear is interesting because
but the pear is completely separate. When I think of pear, I think of more watery, kind of a watered down fruit, kind of a so not sweet, not dull. I want to say hydrated, but like when I bite into a juicy pear, it's juicy and it's not overly sweet. It's not bitter. It's just kind of to me, pears they're refreshing. They're just smooth. But this has a nice cinnamon up front. When I taste this, I get a good mouthfeel. You can see it's very viscous. Maybe you can't see. It's got some great legs on it. And I do like this. I pulled this sample because I do love this barrel.
Yeah, you're cheating.
I am cheating. I knew. Well, I'm familiar with my inventory, and
so let's do the next one.
What's the next one? We're gonna try soft. We're gonna try some of this wheat.
All right, is this a wheat whiskey?
This is a wheat whiskey. This is a this is also a 95.5. It's a 95 wheat.
Oh,
and a 5% malted barley. You want to know how old this is? Oh, wrong glass. Dumped it in my water.
So this could be very interesting, depending on the age, because if it's young, I would expect it to be very. I use two different terms, and they're probably not the right terms, but this would be grainy. This would be like that, almost like cereal grain kind of thing. And wheat can early have quite a bit of spice to it. But if it's older, that spice and that kind of grainy note, you would expect the barrel to look at that. You're drinking your water with the wheated. Let me cleanse my palate with this diluted wheated bourbon.
Your analysis,
but older, I would expect much more of a rich syrupy quality. Barrel notes come into play, toffees, vanillas, caramels, and it to be very front of the palate centric. Sit. Tip of the tongue to maybe third without much finish on it. But what is give us the rundown?
Yeah, this is a 9-year-old.
Oh, okay.
95.5 wheat. Now, to me, the first thing I said was soft, so I am kind of cheating again. Very familiar with this. So what's interesting for me is when I taste wheat whiskey, I love Bernheim. I love Bernheim's barrel strength. They had I think it was a 6 or 7 year, I think, that came out this year. And I get a little bit of like salty peanut, but also smooth, creamy caramel with wheat. Now, when I blend wheat, it changes to me. I get that grainy, almost dusty type of wheat, and it really, to me, it dries out. So I'm always careful, and I feel like there's a sweet spot anytime I've blended with wheat. Not enough wheat it doesn't work for me. It's got to be, and too much is too much. But there's that sweet spot in there where, depending on what you're blending with, it will highlight that creamy caramel flavor, and then with I love a good high corn, 99 corn aged bourbon with a wheat in it, because it turns into this caramel popcorn flavor to me. It's heaven. It's like my perfect design bourbon. Has to be the right age though. So on this one, I'm getting a little bit of that dusty, grainy, and that's what it reminds me of. It reminds me of kind of, harvest season. You get that dust in the air, and you can kind of smell the wheat. It's not hay, it's not corn, it's wheat. It's very
like
unique.
A dry field.
Like a dry field. Yeah, exactly. Again, great mouthfeel in this, and a little bit hotter than so this is, what did I say this one was? That was 125, 118, or I'm sorry, 122 on the wheat. So right around the same. But it actually tastes hotter to me than the rye.
And I always feel like, for me, like that's because on a bourbon with rye or a high rye, that finish is what you kind of think about. The weeded, that weeded stuff, the real taste and flavor is on the front. But you're kind of, the higher proof stuff, it kind of leaves you with this alcohol burn on the back end that isn't
right.
kind of hidden by the finish. I remember Parker's Heritage did a weeded several years ago. It was 120 something proof or whatever. And I thought it was phenomenal, but I also like to drop a cube of ice in there just to kind of mute that heat on the back end, so that I could really pay more attention to what was going on the front end.
Yeah. Have you ever dropped a cube of ice in and it actually tasted hotter? It actually increased heat wise. Yeah, I did that recently, and that happens. That's part of my blending process or my proofing process. I'll blend something, and then I'll and I wanted to show you this. This is my Easy Dens. I've seen a lot of advertisements for these on social media recently. I don't know if it's because I've been talking about it and it pops up, or but this is just proofing in your pocket. It's easy. You take a couple drops of this in your syringe, pop it in there. Pull the screen up on my app on my phone. Run a couple drops through there. Boom! It pops up, tells me the temperature, tells me the proof, which is cool. Instantly versus, having to fill up a graduated cylinder and dropping a hydrometer in there. But yeah, great for blending, and then that way, especially when I'm setting up a sample run, I'll have them at cask strength. So, if I were to blend these up, looking at 120, 122, 125, you're going to come somewhere in there around 120 something proof. And and then I can easily set up samples to taste them at 117, 113 on down, and then get a good accurate versus.
Those are handy little gadgets.
They're very handy little gadgets. Yeah, a couple $100, a little more than a regular hydrometer, $20 hydrometer, but yeah. So I do love wheat whiskey. By the way, I do love. So as I'm drinking this, I'm remembering the other night we went to Drover Steakhouse here in Omaha, and I ordered. Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. It was 2XO. Which one? What's the family crest?
Oh, Tribute Blend.
Tribute. Yeah, it was Tribute Blend.
So I thought you were like the steak or so. I didn't know.
No, it was 2XO. I had some 2XO Tribute Blend with my steak. It was amazing. And yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I could swear I was tasting some wheat in there.
No, there's no wheat in there at all. But one of the things that you get with the double barreling, specifically that Char 4 double barreling, is it really brings it further forward. Really brings adds those barrel sweet notes that are the kind of driving force behind wheated whiskey, and so it builds both viscosity and it builds a forward presence on the palate, and you kind of certainly can be tricked into thinking that there's wheated bourbon in there because of that barrel component that comes from the secondary aging.
Yeah. Well, it was delicious. It was
good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
It was. I couldn't remember if I had tried the Tribute Blend or not. I've had Phoenix. I've had, recently had some American Oak, Gem of Kentucky.
Yeah, I don't know why you don't have all of those bottles in your home bar, but we can talk about that offline. So is that the corn? Do you have the third component?
This is a 99 corn.
99 corn.
It's a 99 corn bourbon. 120 proof. This is also a 9-year. So roughly same age on all these.
So I would expect this, just having, I'm a long way away from where you are, but to have, I mentioned a grainy component, which I would expect in the wheat. This would be more of a mashy component. That kind of sweet mash, like you smell when you walk into the, fermentation room.
Fermentation
that
tanks.
Kind of like the actual cooked corn mash, and just a heavy a sweetness, but definitely like when people stick their finger in the tank and taste it or whatever. I mean, a lot of that, there. A real kind of savory thing, also much of a almost like if you dropped a quarter on the middle of your tongue, like it just really, really lands right there in the middle with, it's just right. And I would think, that it would be, my experience with things like that are they are fun to play with. Like it's not something that I would bottle solo.
Yeah.
But it plays very well and brings both a viscosity component, but also kind of I don't know, just kind of a balancing savory note to a blend.
Yeah, I agree. I've got some really good 99 corn aged barrels that I always call them the magic component. I always add them to a blend. I did a rye blend with, it was small batch, 50 gallons, 48 gallons of a 9-year-old or 10-year-old 95.5 rye, and then I added about 8 gallons of this 99 corn. Very, very,
So is
very,
that like
very.
an American whiskey blend? Is that what that was?
Um, no, it's a rye. It's a rye finished. So it's yeah, it'll. I'll bring some down to you. You can try it. It's pretty unique. But this in its raw form, and I love, by the way, I love tinkering with rye, wheat, corn, even malted barley, each one, and then just coming up with different ratios and going back to having different ages, so all have kind of the same mash bill lined up and have some of the younger stuff 4 year and 6 year, and then but 8, 9, 10, 11, and be able to taste each one of those and then come up.
So that's what's happening here. So okay,
Yeah.
we've got this spicy pear rye that is somehow also, what did you call it? Hydrated. Yeah, I don't know.
Very, very. Yeah, I still can't come up with the same. With it refreshing, it's refreshing.
It's refreshing. Okay,
Yeah.
and then we've got this,
in such a good way.
This soft, smooth caramel, viscous,
Creamy. Yeah.
creamy thing with a little heat on the back end.
Yep.
And then we've got the kind of this corn component, which is a bit of a. Did you? I mean, I guess you didn't really go into that one.
This is bold. This is heavy. This is. I mean, it feels heavy when I sip it. It's immediately goes to the back of my palate. Very silky, but it's more bold. You can taste the char in it too. This is a heavy char, and it really absorbs that. That's been my experience with these aged 99 corns. Is they really absorb that char, and so you get almost a little bit of a smoky, smoky kind of a toffee, not quite coffee, but like a darker chocolate. And it starts out a little bit dry, but then it gets sweet on the back of the palate.
So when if you were at work here, if you were going to do something,
oh, that's good.
In your, do you start going, okay, internally, you want the focal point of the blend to be like, so we're going to walk through this. You now have to make a blend of these three things. Where, like, how do you start that process? You say, okay, this is what I want to lean into, so I'm going to go heavy on this one, and then use these things to complement here, there, or So what's that process like?
Yeah, I'll usually, if I don't have something in particular in mind, if I'm leaning toward a particular flavor profile, I will just kind of sample. I'll pick 5 or 6 different barrel samples, variety. And then sometimes it's just, scratch that. They're not going to work, or nothing's really, not really feeling it. With these, there's something there. There's a combination of these that I can almost imagine in my mouth, what that's going to taste like.
So articulate that. Like, okay.
Yeah.
So as an example, I mean, it's just me. In my mind, the first thing I would try to do was to try to use the back end spice of the rye as the basis of this profile, and then try to build out the front end of this thing with quantities, smaller quantities. And I would probably, first thing I would make would be about 30% of the wheat, 20% of the corn, and then 50% of the rye. That's where I would start thinking, okay, I'm building out the middle slightly, but I don't want all of that. I don't want to over mash this thing with the corn. So I just want a little bit of that. But I'd like to have enough of the wheat to bring it forward to try to balance a lot of the spice on that rye. But that's me. Like what you now, because you have to do it.
Right.
And then you have to lie and say, yes, this is the most magical thing I've ever created. And I'm going to go bottle it right now.
I kind of feel like almost the kind of flip that corn and rye. So it'd be about, just because this corn is really hitting me right now, about 50% of that corn, and then 30% of the rye, 20% of the wheat. However, I'm kind of rethinking that now. I'm just wondering how that's going to play out. So I would.
Now you have to do it. Do it right there in front of us.
Have to do it.
This is live TV.
Unfortunately, I have to start over with some other samples to do the, and we're just. I bought Kentucky windage here, not using precise measurements. But I'm kind of rethinking that the wheat and the rye flipped, what that would be like if I want that. My fear is that the wheat's going to be pushed down and going to be more of a dusty kind of grainy aftertaste versus up front kind of a peanutty.
So is that way? So what do you have in the glass right now?
So this ended up being the about 50% of this blend is the 99 corn.
Okay.
And then roughly 30%, a little more than a quarter was the rye, and then the remaining was wheat. So about 20%. It was actually about 15% wheat. Oh, it's very very smooth. I don't get that heat aroma that I did from the wheat. And surprisingly, I can smell the rye, but it's not that pear. I keep wanting to say citrusy, but it's not citrus flavor that I got in just the
moistness.
The moistness. It's fresh. Oh man, that's interesting. We don't have to air this if it turns out amazing, right? Oh gosh, that's good. That's good. That's I would pursue this. I would take it and kind of establish this as kind of the next level baseline. Record my ratios that I have in there, and then not quite start to tinker with the proof just yet, but gosh, I almost get like on the back end, like a salty peanut, and that corn, really it's caramel. It's caramel right on the tip of my tongue. It's like and almost just a tiny little note of green apple beneath that. That's good.
So we're at 15 of the wheat, roughly 35 of the corn, and 50 of the rye.
Corn. 50 of the corn.
50, yeah, so 15 of the wheat.
We went my way, not your way.
35 of the rye,
yeah.
50 of the corn. And if you were going to go to try to tweak this, like, do you look at things that you say, okay, I wish it had a little bit more of this or a little bit less of this, or I wish it landed, how would you prepare the second blend as you follow this?
Yeah, I would actually increase the rye in this a little bit. Just because I can kind of taste that it's almost like a caramel covered green apple. It reminds me of not a there's a candy.
Oh, the little suckers.
Yeah,
green apple caramel suckers.
Green apple caramel sucker. Yeah,
yeah,
with a little bit of.
Yeah, I found one stuck under a rug in my house. So moving some furniture there.
Oh man, that's really good. Actually, I might actually. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a little bit of water in that. Maybe.
You don't have water. It has whiskey in it. You screwed that.
No, I have a. Oh, here it is. I have a little. Yeah, let's talk about this for a second. So this is obviously it's got the Golden Sheaf brand on it, but this is just purified or distilled water.
Yeah.
And this is part of my everyday blending and tasting, and that's I love tasting things. I love trying things. I love, especially when I walk into a place like Proof and they're like, hey, something new, give it a try. I'll taste it. And I immediately want to try it different ways. I'll sip on it and let it breathe. Sit and socialize for a minute and try some more. But then I'll put a drop or two of water in it just to kind of see what happens. And obviously it's diluting it down a little bit. But I'm always very picky too about using the same water. That way I get consistent change. So I take these with me. And
you're that guy?
I'm that guy. Yeah, I am that guy. Oh man, it got sweeter. It got sweeter and a little bit hotter actually, which is good. It's kind of pushing that sweetness up through the that kind of what is that? It's that caramel corn, but it's got this sweet note on the back end of it. Yeah, and I love that. I love getting, being able to kind of transform the flavor. And it's a little bit of control, but like you've talked about, it's, 1 and 1 don't add up to 2. But you get a little bit of, oh man, get this really, really sweet tinge of, what is that? It's like spicy, salty. Oh, that's good.
Well, this was fun. Sorry, I wasn't able to play along, but it's more important that we. I don't know. It's good learning your system.
I mean, this is the Blending Bourbon podcast, and I think every once in a while it's good to talk about blending and what that means. Here's the other thing too. I had this thought going into this, for a long, long time. And I see people talking about this on social media. They blended some, well-known products, some Jim Beam with some Buffalo Trace with some, and they come up with their own concoction, and that's awesome. That's great. That's blending. Years into that, just kind of the hobby aspect of it, being able to source this kind of stuff where I'm, getting various mash bills at various proofs at various ages. That's incredible. That's my joy. That's my passion, is to be able to take those, because then it's like you're able to, get to the foundation. It's not the origin. It's somebody's created it and somebody's created that mash bill and they've aged it, but it's more of a pure raw ingredient versus taking something that's already been distilled down to 90 proof or 80 proof and then blending with that.
I agree. The rawer the better as far as I'm concerned. That's
amazing.
That's not just with bourbon either. That's I'm talking about steak.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Awesome.
Good stuff. This was fun. I'll have to put this in a bottle and bring it down to you this week.
Could you make a larger?
I'll bring you a 750.
The thimble full. No, I'm just kidding. It'd be fun to taste.
Yeah.
I'll taste it live.
All right. Yeah. Sounds good. That's plan. Part 2. All right. This was fun. Thank you, sir.
Absolutely. Cheers, my friend. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Soon.
Sounds good. Cheers, brother. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, all of the things. Until next time. Thanks, everybody. Cheers.